Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening whenever you are listening to this latest HRO Today educational podcast. I'm Elliot Clark, the CEO of HRO Today. We publish HRO Today Magazine, HRO Today EMEA Magazine, and HRO Today APAC. We're looking forward to talking about a very interesting topic. And today we're going to focus on mid-sized firms instead of big firms. We always hear about big companies and what big companies need, and everyone's impressed by their scale. But sometimes it's actually much harder to accomplish your goals, particularly in recruiting in a difficult and challenging worldwide economy. We have 8 billion people on planet Earth, but we have a shortage of skilled labor. Today we're going to talk about what you need to do if you're a mid-market company to compete for talent with the big folks. We are joined today by Pam Verhoff, who is the president of Advanced RPO. Pam is an industry veteran of some great recruiting organizations such as The Right Thing, which is now part of ADP, Randstad, and then joined Advanced Group in 2011 and launched their Advanced RPO operation about 4 years ago. Advanced RPO is one of the most rapidly growing RPO firms, and they specialize in the mid-market. So let me welcome Pam Verhoff to the podcast. Pam, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Elliot.
Tell us a little bit about Advanced RPO to sort of kick us off. I gave a little bit of an overview, but maybe you could give us a bit more color around what you're doing that's unique and how you operate.
Sure. As you said, Advanced RPO exists really to provide RPO services to the mid-sized firms. We recognize that finding and hiring the right talent in today's market is really hard, and we make it easier for our customers. We do that by investing in our recruitment talent and technology and working with our customers to really design a solution that fits their specific need. We have a really experienced team, and that's been developing and executing RPO solutions for a lot of years, as you mentioned, and we really want to bring that expertise to the middle market.
That's great. So let's talk about that middle market, if you will. Now, mid-sized companies don't have the same name recognition or even the funding that large companies pour into their employment branding campaigns. I mean, they'll spend millions on their employment brand. So how can a mid-sized firm position itself to compete against very large firms with their own employment brand?
You're exactly right. We do see this every day with our customers, and there's a number of strategies that I would suggest that mid-sized companies consider. It really starts with actually developing the employment brand. We talk to so many customers that they talk about their great culture and such, but they don't actually bring that to life. So really focus on the benefits of being part of a mid-sized firm. And when I think about that, I think about there's really three big boulders, if you will, that we see. The first is culture. There's opportunity for upward mobility and growth, and meaningful work. I'm going to talk about meaningful work because I think it's really the most important, in my opinion. Talent today, they want to do work that is fulfilling for them, and they want to add value each and every day. And every organization out there has that as part of their being, and you need to bring that to life through the employment brand. And then once the brand is developed, it's important to consistently message that through every channel that's available to you.
So let's talk about how you highlight it, because you mentioned, all right, let's say you have a great culture, you've got, great associates, and and this is a word, as you know, that's used number one on the recent survey at Career Builder and the one at Glassdoor around purpose. They need to feel that their job has purpose. So if you're a mid-sized firm, as you said, and you've got these elements there, how do you highlight it, and what channels, website, employment ads, how do you bring that punch out to ensure that the job seekers you want really get that message?
Mm-hmm. I would say the easiest way to do it is to really leverage your internal ambassadors. People inside the organization can be the most effective and authentic way to really amplify the reality of what your brand should be articulating. So include them in the strategy. And I would say, provide them content to post and share on social media. Encourage them to take and share photos and videos of company celebrations or events, or, even more importantly, community involvement. So many organizations are really involved in the community, so bring that to life. And then help your employees understand the importance of effectively engaging on social media platforms. By that, I mean commenting and sharing. It is just amazing how quickly information can get dispersed when you're doing it effectively. And a lot of these efforts can be done at really no additional cost. There may be some cost in developing some video, but there doesn't have to be a lot of cost there. And however, the value to the organization is really just extraordinary.
From that standpoint, when you're going out to these companies and you're saying, okay, you should use your associates as brand ambassadors, what coaching would you give them about the celebrations, but should employees be doing this sort of spontaneously and submitting them? How would you set up that program, if you will, or just give some practical advice to how to get that content curated into the HR department for distribution?
Typically what we do is we work with the HR team to develop guidelines around how they should capture information. Some organizations are confident enough that their employees can post and distribute information that's appropriate without them reviewing. We've got other customers that want to make sure everything is curated then through HR. So it's working with them, understanding the guidelines, documenting them, and then sharing that with the organization.
You know, I usually wouldn't do that myself because, as everyone says, I have a face for radio, and that's why I do podcasts. You don't have to comment.
Where I was going with that, we are who we are as individuals, right? And we are the fabric of the organization. So a key piece in bringing great talent in is really feeling like you can be part of that. So I would say it's important to share it.
Absolutely. So when you talk to mid-market companies, more generically than we talk about brand and brand ambassadorship, when you engage with a mid-market client, I know you have a lot of them, what's the most common mistake that you see in their hiring or their employment approach, rather than, of course, not hiring advanced RPO sooner? What are the things that you'd say, God, this is a very common mistake that our listeners should avoid?
The most common mistake that we see that organizations is that they're recruiting like it was 10 years ago. They're, relying on outdated job postings and cumbersome processes and honestly hoping that candidates apply to their positions. Candidates in today's marketplace really expect to be courted with some high touch. So that's just really a critical element of today's recruiting. Our customers are really hiring, I would say 70 to 75% of talent through passive recruitment efforts. And, these are individuals that aren't really actively looking for jobs. So that has to be a key element of your overall strategy. In the most competitive areas, a lot of candidates have multiple offers in hand, and you really have to have the arsenal to be able to engage, recruit, and then close those candidates that are going to help move your organization to the next level.
I wonder, Pam, your opinion, just off the cuff to your answer. You're talking about we're in a different world. Candidates want to be courted, and they want high touch. Because of the scale that some very large companies are operating at, they're making increasing use of technology and robocalls and chatbots to do screening and communicate with candidates. Do you think in a weird way the fact that smaller firms may not be utilizing that same technology but actually be using older, technique of having recruiters call people on the phone, let's say? Do you think that gives them an advantage in the process because it's a more personalized process than technology-driven?
It can. I think it depends certainly on the type of company you are, but in most cases I would say absolutely yes. And another key piece is really striking that right balance between human and technology, because you can't, in my opinion, hire the best talent with a fully automated process. You have to know when and how to interject that human touch and develop relationships where it's important to do that.
All right. Well, that was some really good advice and concisely delivered. So, folks, if you're a mid-sized company, make sure that you can answer 3 questions about what your culture is and what's the opportunity for advancement in your firm and articulate that mission. And Pam, as you said, using the internal staff as brand ambassadors is low cost, high impact. And I guess your last point is great, that we're not partying like it's 1999 anymore. We have to use modern recruiting. That's actually, 20 years ago, not 10 years ago. But a lot of companies are still using the same processes and modalities, whether mid-sized firms or large firms. We're living in a new world and the lowest unemployment in 49 years. So we've got to have new techniques, a way to do it. And courting passive candidate is important. I want to thank Pam Verhoff, the president of Advanced RPO. Advanced RPO can be found at advancedrpo.com, for taking part in today's educational podcast. And if you're a very large company, you're competing with mid-sized firms, so you better listen to how agile they can be. And if you're a mid-sized firm, hopefully you picked up a few great ideas that you can use in managing your recruiting processes. I'm Elliot Clark, the CEO of HRO Today magazine. Thank you for your time and your attention.